Okay. Okay, good. Good evening and welcome to Council. Monday, April the 8th, 2019. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. As always, we ask you to turn off your mobile devices, put them on silent or vibrate mode. As always, we start off our meetings with a spring safety share and, well, not the spring safety share, but this one's the spring water level. So Councillor Hatton is going to give us an overview of that.
In spring, ice will begin to thin on rivers, ponds, and lakes. Water bodies that were once safe to cross during the winter months may now be dangerous. As temperatures rise, use alternate routes that do not require crossing water bodies. The sun can melt snow and ice even if the temperature is around zero. If you fall through thin ice, dry and warm yourself quickly enough to avoid hypothermia, shock, and frostbite. See your local health professional to ensure your conditions improve. With the spring melt of ice and snow, rivers run faster and the water level is higher. Be careful when near fast-moving water, as a swift current can sweep you downstream and can result in serious injury or death. Personal safety tips. 1. Do not cross a frozen body of water once temperature begins to rise, as unstable ice is not always noticeable. 2. Stay away from fast-moving bodies of water. And 3. Always exercise caution if crossing a body of water, whether frozen or not.
Good. Thank you for that report. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda for this evening? Hearing none, I do have a motion here that Council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, April the 8th, 2019, regular meeting of Council as circular amended. Moved by Councillor Lake, second by Councillor Valance. Any questions, errors, omissions? Hearing none, call question all in favor. Thank you. Okay, any disclosures of interest this evening? Hearing none, I do have a motion here that the Council hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held on Monday, March 25th, 2019, the closed meeting of Council held on Monday, March 25th, 2019, and also Friday, March 29th, 2019, as circulated or amended. Moved by Councillor Debuchy, second by Councillor Ingra. Any errors or omissions on those minutes? Comments? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, no delegations. Right on down. Council reports will be highlighted on the second page, and then we're going to the student council reports. Councillor Hatton, what's happening in the student council's world?
So on Friday we had our 3rd annual Wake-a-thon at the school, and we had 37 people participating from the student body, and we had lots of parent and staff volunteers to help supervise throughout the night, and we have managed to raise $1,965, and it's going to be split between the sports and student council.
Good stuff. Wow.
Also last Wednesday, I believe, we had the NSSAA semifinals here in Marathon for badminton. And now we have a lot of our students moving on to the NSSAA and Wawa starting on Wednesday. I believe that's all I have.
Okay. Councillor Stone, what do you got to update us on?
The prom community is doing a bottle drive on May 20th. So hold on to your bottles, and they'll be collecting them on May 20th to help raise money for prom.
Anything else? All good? Right on. Thank you very much. SEER report on one-time provincial funding. Copy to all members. Good evening. Daryl?
Good evening. On March 20th, 2019, the municipality was notified by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing that it would be receiving $485,000 in one-time funding in 2019. Municipal allocations are based on a formula which takes into consideration the number of households in a municipality and whether it is urban or rural. The investment from the province is unconditional, but is intended to help modernize municipal service delivery and reduce future costs through investments in projects such as service delivery reviews, development of shared service agreements, and capital investments. At this point in time, administration is seeking council's guidance and direction on where and how the municipality should spend this funding most strategically. Administration is recommending that this funding be used for infrastructure development. This funding could be allocated towards the development of the new Active Living Centre, should council choose to do so. Financially, $485,000 has been received from the province and is currently allocated in unearned revenues. And this report is presented for council's information and direction. Thank you.
Good, thank you for that. Any discussion on that? No, Councillor Lake?
So certainly, the Active Living Center is the thing that jumps to mind, but the bigger thing that jumps to mind is often we see the 1/3 or 90-10 projects in capital, and that's clearly I would say to administration, how can we best leverage $500,000 to get $2 or $3 or $4 million? And that would be the sort of approach I would take. Is this is leverage money that we can use.
Comment back?
Yeah, obviously, we always look to, utilize the resources, especially for capital projects as best we possibly can. And we do envision from what we read is that likely culture and recreation development will be 2/3 funding. So this could be directed to that 1/3 from our perspective for the new Active Living Center if council chose to do so.
Councillor Debussy?
Also, too, is with regard to some of this funding here, with the LNG project coming on board, and I'm not sure how we're going to structure ourselves as partners in this. Instead of spending it or looking at it, can we just task the administration to hold on to it until we can see about developing either an LNG project and how that can best utilize it as either a public utility or something like that, or otherwise? Because, I mean, that's I'll say an investment that we won't have to go to taxpayers for, and it can generate revenue back to us in lieu of or as well as taxation. So I think maybe that might be, because we're under no limit to spend it, or time frame to spend it, are we?
No, it's one-time funding. We've received it. There are technically no strings attached to it. It's wherever council directs the money to be spent when they choose to do so.
Everything good? So we'll have discussion around that, I guess, when we go back to budget and look at what we propose for the remaining of this year's budget, and maybe looking at opportunities for that to be located somewhere and come up with a plan over the next several months. Councillor Debussy?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong to keep it in reserves in the meantime, correct?
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
That's we have no intent to spend it at this point in time.
Councillor Valence?
So then, just for my green knowledge, how often does the government, is this because there's a change in government, and how often do we just get?
Not too often.
Hasn't happened before to anyone else?
This type of funding is very rare, where it's actually not from a program. It's a formula. It's an amount given to us, and we get to dictate where it's spent, and we don't have to report back to the province. So first time I've ever seen it.
Okay, thank you.
I just make a comment in that regards, and I'll kind of highlight NAMO conference discussion as well. But the provinces, even though there's no string attached, I think there's going to be monitoring of where the money's spent, and AMO wants to know where the money's being spent as well, so they can go back to the government, because there's 404 so municipalities got a lot of money. So to see where the investment is, and it's about the sustainability of your community and ongoing opportunities to enhance, both the infrastructure, the asset management program, continue finishing that kind of stuff. It's just monies that, if you're stuck and you don't have enough dollars to finish those type programs. It was kind of like that was discussed. Not that there was recommending you do that, it's just the discussion was around that. Okay, everything's good? Okay. Report on 2018 council remuneration. Good evening, Mr. Verbo.
Evening, Mayor and Council. In accordance with Section 284 of the Municipal Act, the Treasurer shall submit a statement of remuneration and expenses paid to each member of Council in the preceding year. The remuneration and expenses paid to Mayor and Council are in accordance with policies on remuneration, vehicle use, and travel expenses for members of Council and staff. The total remuneration and expenses paid to Council in 2018 was $89,148. Total amount included in the budget for 2018 was $97,502. Therefore, expenditures are $8,400 less than budget. Section 283, subsection 3 of the Municipal Act requires that remuneration and expenses paid by anyone must be reported. Therefore, in 2018, Mayor Dumas received $2,300 from NOMA, and Councillor Fox received $2,800 from the Thunder Bay District Health Unit. Reports presented for information only.
Thank you for that report. Any questions on that? Councillor Lake?
Yeah, certainly we were under budget in that year. And we've done a pretty good job of sort of saying 2 to every conference. I just wonder, with obviously Councillor Valance on, and us being under budget, whether we do want to open up, maybe making sure that Councillor Valance gets to all the opportunities he wants to go to, given that we did save some money on this year.
Sure. I think the policy was created to identify that there's still opportunity for both, all councillors to attend both events over a 4-year period twice. So I think there's still opportunities both AMO and OGRA. Well, now it's Aroma. And you still get the opportunity, and I think we've always incorporated that as part of our policy and budget, is to go to NOMA's AGM. I think there's been a lot of, like I didn't travel for a lot of events last year in 18 as well as 17. So there's a big impact to the budget that's reflective of that, as well as some of the councillors didn't attend the actual conference that were entitled to go to those as part of their policy. So, Councillor Debussy.
And I will speak to this again as I do every year. I think it's paramount that if we have a budget set and people want to go to conferences or educational purposes, that they be allowed to go as long as we fall under budget. I don't like the idea that we say, you can go this year and you can go that year. If there's a pressing issue or a learning curve that they want to attend, and I think we can all use our best judgment, this side is it appropriate if I go this year or not? I think because we nominate, or as part of our thing, we allocate who can go, I think it should be up to the council to decide if they want to go or not. We've been under budget. It's a pressing issue this year with the new change of government. We have new councillors, and I think it's up to the individual councillor to decide if they want to go or not, regardless. And I do not agree with the policy that you get allocated this year and then you go the next year.
Any other comments? I think we've had the discussion. The only way we're going to bring this back in policy change, we'll have to bring back the policy to look at it again if we have a discussion and make changes.
Then I would ask administration to review the policy and bring back a report.
So you're going to ask council to whether or not they want to bring the policy back before you direct administration through the chair to bring the policy back. So with that being said, I'll ask council if they want the policy to be revisited. We'll speak on that now.
Your Worship, I got a question.
Sure.
So then, Councillor Debussy, just so that it makes sense to me, if all 4 of us went every time for the first 3 years, wouldn't that take all the budget away for the last year?
Well, we'd be over budget each year. We'd be way over budget because you go to Toronto. One individual trip to Toronto is going to run about, between registration for a conference, either at the Roma or AMO in Ottawa, you're $700 to $800 per person. Flights, food, hotel, you're probably pushing $2,500 to $3,000 per member. So if as Councillor Bush says, we took advantage of everybody wanted to go, we'd be way over budget rather than under budget. So either increase the budget, which we did already this year to accommodate for the federal tax change, and we increased our budget already for 19. So to go to all those events, you'd have to increase your budget dramatically over this amount of money, because travel is not cheap. So with that being said, with Councillor Debussy's request, I'll ask council if they want to bring the policy back for discussion. Councillor Lake?
I'm happy to bring it back. I don't think we would change it, but I think it's with a new council member. I'm happy to have the discussion.
Okay. Councillor Valance?
I support the current policy.
Okay. Councillor Singro?
I'm happy with looking over it again and seeing if there's any changes we should make.
Okay. Councillor
Obviously, I
Bush?
brought it forward, and I think we should review it.
Okay. So with that being said, sounds like the majority of council wants to review that policy in regards to council travel, and we'll bring it back to another meeting for discussion. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Verbo, for that report. Okay, up next, I got a motion here for check runs. Check run in regards to the following check runs be approved for payment in the amount of accounts payable, $794,526.59, as well as payroll in the amount of $138,573.93. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Debussy. Any questions on those check runs? Hearing none, call a question. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, up next we have a couple of verbal reports from members of council in regards to some of their boards and meetings they've attended. Mine was in regards to the last week NOMA in Thunder Bay. So I traveled to Thunder Bay to attend the NOMA meeting, which took place first thing Wednesday morning. Some of the issues on the NOMA agenda were the NOSM recruitment to Northwestern Ontario, funding, the one-time grant fund that we just discussed, all municipalities wondering whether there was restrictions or stipulations in regard to spending. There was also, I brought from our council, the pedal bike awareness and signage on highways. We talked a lot about the NOMA conference coming up in regards to this year's AGM and location, cost, increased fees for vendors, and also a resolution is going forward to the actual conference from municipalities. A lengthy discussion took place on whether or not the districts were still valid. As you know, I pushed this issue a couple years ago in regards to keeping costs down, trying to reduce meetings that we attend, which is really frivolous, I think. And we did get rid of one meeting in Thunder Bay District. The other two districts, Kenora and Rainy River, did not, but they have very poor attendance, so they're really struggling. Even just in their general meetings, they have very little attendance. Travel is big in our part of the world with the geographic size. It's hard. Thunder Bay District Municipal League has always a good turnout for their meetings, but no agenda. We just canceled our last meeting because there was no agenda. So it's very concerning whether or not we should have those. But that was discussion for probably a good half, 45 minutes. So it's going to go back to the districts and see what's coming out of there. The Northern Policy Institute was discussed in regards to what's happening over there. Energy, Mayor Davis enlightened us there. Endangered species, non-urgent patient transport, still an issue within our area. Thunder Bay District is still struggling with transfer of patients from our communities and within the district as well as in the city of Thunder Bay. Social housing and poverty, Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund was discussed. Police costs, Section 10 and Section 31. We're not so bad off. Some of the communities that have been affected in regards to reduction are good. The communities that are not, they're really complaining. There's a lot of communities, as you know, that went from $89 per property to $200 and $300 and $400, whereas we went from $700, $800 a property down to $500, $400. So we're okay. So I kind of left that one alone. Impact, we're going to be discussing whether or not we can relook at having somebody from Northwestern Ontario sitting on the board. Mayor Hobbs was sitting on the board as he didn't run for re-election. He was removed from the board. So this is a key issue to have somebody sitting on the Impact board from Northern Ontario. Infrastructure as well as mining. Mining in regards to the impact issues with Daryl has been working very close with Mark Vermette out of Red Lake to discuss. We've had meetings with Impact and try to get this resolved. So that's been working. Intercity bus transportation, as you know, we have Casper working on it, and it's working somewhat, but it's still struggling. He's struggling to fill the bus. We want service. We want that intercity transport, but nobody's utilizing the service. And, of course, railway taxation. Then I was off to Toronto to sit on the AMO board as I was just newly appointed to the AMO Northern Caucus. 135-page orientation meeting on Thursday, as well as another 131-page agenda for Friday. So it's a 43-member board, and we discussed numerous issues. I can't even begin to think of where would I start off in regards to some of the things I share with you. But governance, fiduciary-related policies in regards to all the AMO stuff. We talked about all the impacts coming forward in the 2019-20 budget, which is going to be released Thursday. We have a board meeting Thursday night by conference call. It's going to be interesting to see 43 members on a conference call in regards to the budget items that are going to be announced on Thursday. AMO, surprisingly, I knew that they did a lot of work, but man, they sure have a whole team of policy writers, policy investigators, administrators, work very close to the government. So I'm very happy that I'll be there, but I think it's going to be a little overwhelming at first just to learn about the activities that AMO does. So our next meeting will be in June, and I'll have more information from that. I am appointed to as the funding kind of spokesperson through NOMA, so as part of AMO now I'm looking kind of into that. We've already wrote a resolution. We're going to bring it forward to the government, and we think, excuse me, we might have some traction in regards to the funding for the 90% of the previous year, hopefully, but we'll see what comes out of the 2020 budget, 1920 budget, because we believe if it stays at the 90% of today's value, with the cost of living, we'll see a little bit of reduction, but we won't see a big reduction. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But AMO is a big board. It's got a lot of responsibilities. It brings a lot of information to the municipalities. There's 440 or 430 some members. City of Toronto obviously is not a member of AMO, so there's a couple of smaller communities that are not, but the majority of the municipalities in Ontario are part of AMO. So I really enjoyed it, and I'll learn more over the time. So if anybody wants to read my binder in regards to some of the orientation and some of the minutes, you can go right ahead. So that's what I got for my 2 meetings I attended over last week. Councillor Tabushi is going to give us an update on the museum.
Yes, I attended my first board meeting for the museum board on April 1st. There was renovations around the display unit, so I invite everybody to visit it when they open in June. I believe is going to be The exact date is unknown. One thing they will have is some activities surrounding the National Museum Day, which is May 18th. So look for announcements around that. And I would like, we're also waiting for confirmation on the student funding. So, and I thank the administration for helping us with that application. So that's it for the museum board.
Okay. Councillor Lake will give us an update on the DSAB board meeting.
I've continued to go to the DSAB meetings. A couple of things that came out of them that was interesting, I think, for Marathon. One is around housing in particular, looking at supporting some units in Peninsula Manor, which I think is a big deal. The other thing, there's a new program that is traditionally there are housing units at municipal nonprofit that are available. There's rent support in private landlord dwellings. There's a new program kind of being tried this year where the housing dollars travel with the person and they can choose to stay anywhere they want. It kind of frees that relationship for the person to find the best housing for them. There hasn't been a lot of information laid out on it, so I've asked DSAB to come and make a presentation to council and the community, especially looking at landlords who might want to get into the supportive housing game, or rent geared income game. It does open some opportunities for both tenants and landlords. So with what's going on with the Thursday budget as well, there's lots of uncertainty at the DSAB board. We made the decision to try to lessen the burden a little bit on the levy on municipalities because we're not sure what programs will be funded and which won't be. After the budget comes out, obviously we'll have a better sense of what's going on, but we thought it would be worth them coming to Marathon if council wants them, not only to talk about housing, but also because they did the homelessness study here. We were one of 2 small municipalities, and kind of the shocking results about how many people are homeless in Marathon. We certainly don't see it on the street, but in terms of people that are couch surfing on Friends, and it is an issue, I think, in our municipality. So there was some support for that sort of work too, and I thought it's been a while since we've seen DSAB kind of here, so I was going to invite them if that was council.
Good idea.
Okay with that?
For sure. Thank you for that. Any questions of any of those? Councillor Bucci.
So if the funding would follow the individual, and there's some instances where a family supporting a person in need, would that be an allocation for like room and board with family, or with support their other outside immediate family supports?
That would be the sort of question we would want answered, because I think in all the small municipalities, where there are less services available, and in fact we have proportionally a lot of social housing compared to other municipalities, that's the sort of thing that might really be of benefit to families and to individuals. So that's a great question that I will bring to DSAB, and hopefully if DSAB comes here, you can bring to them.
Thank you. One other note I wanted to make on NAMO, which is important. When I did a presentation 2 years ago in regards to the student counselor program, they're now looking at a mentor program for students, whether they're high school or university level, college, university level, because they believe that youth engagement is key to having that leadership come from the youth to become more involved in political arena. So I mentioned that we still have a couple of student councilors, so hopefully they'll get back in touch with me if there's some information, maybe even some participation. So if you're both interested, we can share that with you. Okay, thank you. Okay, up next we have a returning motion in regards to resolution from the municipality of Nebing in regards to the proxy voting at Roma, and this was discussed and we asked for clarification. So the clarification was given that it is still considered a proxy vote they're looking for. So to put it on the floor, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Valens, any second? Councillor Zingra, questions? Councillor Debussy.
Okay, so I was the one who brought in and asked for clarification because if the instance was that the issue on the agenda is so important that only delegates get the vote, I guess it's somewhat tied to my looking at reviewing the attendance issue. If an issue comes up, and NOMA is a good example, because this year at NOMA, when we asked for names who wanted to go, we all put our name down because if there was an issue there, we could all go and we could all vote. And obviously, because there was no issue pending, Mayor Dumas was on the executive, so we didn't have to vote him in. Those kind of issues, I think that's why it's important that proxies are not the way to go. And I also think it's important that if an issue is important to a council, then they send a representative to vote on the release. And that's why I asked, that's why I asked for it to come back, and that's why I'm opposed to their proxy votes.
Anything else? So, with that being said, I'm just gonna read that therefore be resolved that the Council of Town of Marathon supports the resolution received in the municipality of Nebin, new resolution number 2019-02-024, that rural Ontario Municipal Association limit the number of votes per municipality to 1. Further resolved, the Town of Marathon requests that the Rural Municipality Association and councils in resolution be to give proxies to representatives of other municipalities attending the conference to vote on their behalves. So you're saying you don't want that portion in there?
So I don't support
Proxy vote.
that, I guess.
That's the line you want, you want.
I don't support the whole,
So you'd be rewriting the resolution,
Yeah, and-
if you wanted to support the
No,
one
so I
vote
think,
only.
I think we just don't vote for that. I'm just not gonna support the whole.
Okay,
resolution.
so I'm gonna call a question, because if you're gonna rewrite it, you'd have to send it back to the originating author, that'd be the municipality of Nebin, to have them rewrite it if in your choosing, or we just vote on it and go from there. Councillor Lake?
Just a clarification then. So the proxy would work, does it lay out how the proxy works? Does the municipality just says Mayor Dumas from Marathon is proxy voting for Deebing?
So I did follow up with Nebing, and their response is a municipality granting a proxy to another municipality, who would of course have to accept that proxy, would advise the proxy how to vote on behalf of the granting municipality. Whichever representative of council voted could vote for his or her own municipality, and upon presentation of the proxy documentation, also on behalf of the municipality that granted the proxy.
So I think we've heard from Mayor Dumas several times today how expensive travel is. I think if there's a proper process for creating the proxy, I actually don't have a problem with that, because it is very expensive to send people down to conferences. There are multiple conferences. As long as there's a process at the municipal level that makes it clear that Mayor Dumas isn't just speaking off the cuff for another municipality. I know how expensive, well, we know how expensive it is. I don't have a problem supporting a municipality that feels they can't afford to.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Phillips?
I support it as well.
Okay, I'll call the question, man, but is there any other comments then? I think that in regards to that comment that Councillor just made is absolutely right. It's about budgets, it's about population size. A lot of our smaller northern communities don't have that, that availability to attend these ROMAs and AMO conferences on maybe one member, 2 members at best, sometimes none. So it is good, if you're in support of their resolution or their position, you take their position as a proxy vote to the agenda. I still think this is going to take a long time to get through the process with Roma and AMO, whether it has any traction. I think this one's more for Roma, but I also understand that Kevin is through the Roma board is trying to get the district split as well. So that might be the answer rather than having. So now you have a rep from the northwest, you have a rep from the northeast for the Roma, because Roma is just slowly getting our way. They weren't our way prior to last year, before the conference split. Now there's also a motion in regards to trying to get the conference back together. So there's, talk and push on getting the Ogra and Roma again back to one conference. So we'll see what comes out of that. So I think I'll call the question. There's opportunities for both sides, and there's also opportunities for the region to be split into 2 ridings. So with that being said, I'll call the question. All in favor of this resolution? Against? So passed. Okay. And announcements, there is, of course, this week coming, there is some meetings with the LNG process that we are going through in Marathon. And Marathon will be April 10th at 5 till 8 p.m. at the Marathon Center Mall. This is an opportunity for you as a resident to get out there and talk to Stantec and understand what the project's all about, location of the proposed storage facility, as well as the pipe running and all that in the community. You want to have your voice heard, you have to attend these type of sessions. If not, well, you'll just be listening to the issues come forward after the fact. So if you're interested, get out to the Center Mall from 5 till 8 on April the 10th. Any other comments on that? No? Okay. Sure, absolutely.
So I just have an announcement from the library board. They are running a fundraising with flowers through Vessie's Bulbs, and catalogs are available from Student Councillor Hatton or at the library, and you can order up until April 18th.
Okay, and also that the office will be closed on this Easter holiday. You can check the town's website and see what the dates that will be closed, and also the upcoming 75th anniversary. Still looking for ideas and volunteers to help out on any type of the events throughout the whole week of that celebration. So you can contact the town offices and get your name put in for volunteerism. So with that being said, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:31. We will be going into a closed meeting to discuss a local pending acquisition disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Thank you. I need a mover and seconder for this adjournment. Councilor Lake, Councilor Valens, thank you very much. Have a good night.